5 years of civil war not only wrecked the country, it deprived a generation of children of education and ruined the economy. Jobs are still scarce. The challenges of getting Liberia to stand on its own feet again are enormous.
Even if there is an enthusiasm for Liberian girls and women to join the police force, there's quite a lot of them who lack the basic skills to read and write, which is an essential part of being able to maintain the law.
It is, and I think, unfortunately, this is another result of the war. If you think about it, if someone was 10 years old in 1990, in 2004, when the war ended, they're going to be 24. That means that person has not had the opportunity to go to regular school for 14 years. So it's not because the Liberian people didn't want to go to school. It's not because we have a nation of people who don't want to read and write. That tells you that we are serious about education and we're serious about moving forward.
Kimmie.Weeks is part of the campaign to get the youth of Liberia mobilized.
How you doing? I'm not Will Smith. It's Kimmie.
Kimmie.Weeks.
Randall. Well, yeah.
Movie star.
Kimmie.Weeks may struggle for name recognition among some of Monrovia's kids, but he's hopeful that his message is getting through and that Liberia has turned a corner.
Given what's happened in those 14 years that a kid might have gone through, how can that stop happening again?
When I talk about the hope and the potential, I'm not just saying it because I'm talking to you. If I thought that there was going to be major issues down the road, I wouldn't have given up my apartment and life in the U.S. and come to Liberia. And people are only doing that because we've reached a point where, as a country, collectively, we know that we're not prepared. We don't want war again. We know we're not prepared to go back to war. If you have, at one point, a gap where you get a leader who does not have the country at heart, that's when the problem starts. That's when people start to get angry. That's when people reach the limit where they have to push back. When you have secret killings, when you have secret imprisonments, when you've got killing forces, etc., which we don't have under this administration, and we hope that we definitely need subsequent administrations to not have that. But we're all very collectively into making sure there's peace. When you talk to young people, they'll say the war is over.
Okay. And you remember the national orator, the young national orator. I was the person.
How do you fix people's scars in their heads and get them to act normal?
I think that, again, goes to the whole idea of developing the human, our human capital, and working hard on that, which we're not doing. And that's why I said essentially there has to be a focus on the rehabilitation process. Because again, that process was done by the UN. That process was done by foreign governments and organizations.
And do you think they messed it up?
I think so. In fact, when I spoke to the UNICEF country representative about a year or so ago, he lamented the fact that what had happened to the Trust Fund for Child Soldiers was that instead of going through a training process, they had simply issued Liberian child soldiers $150 cash. Now, of course, the young boys went out and bought sneakers and stereos and jeans, and that entire fund was depleted. So the way it was conducted would have been in the amount of money that was used. I don't know exact figures, but just millions used on that process.
Despite fears about corruption and a lack of infrastructure, Weeks says it's time for Liberians to take the lead in distributing aid and getting people back to work.
I think if it's done by, again, the Liberian people, the Liberian government, through a process where people care because it's our own people, I think the results will be much better. But on the very heels of that has to be employment. Because you could do all the rehabilitation with the best psychiatrists, with the best counselors, unless you can give meaningful employment to the young people, nothing's changed.
We tried to find the money, and it was not easy. But when the sun came up, we're looking for the money for Bassa. When the sun went down, we're looking for the money. And thanks to God, we finally have the money to start a 100-acre farm right here in Grand Bassa.
Africans are vibrant people. We're able to rebound from the worst things possible. I remember during the war, it would be a day after ceasefire, and people would be back in the markets fixing their lives again. You won't see people mopping around, there's no hope. The markets would be open, the clubs would be open, churches would be open, right after, a day after the war. We're vibrant people.
As for Kimmie.Weeks and his part in Liberia's renaissance, he has a well-known role model.
Oh, Kimmie.Weeks, I think maybe he will be the Obama of Liberia.
Well, I'd like to compare myself at some times as I watch President Obama. That's where I want to be, not as the U.S. president, but in terms of that kind of presence and that ability to motivate people, because that's what Liberians need, a person or a group of people who are able to motivate the entire nation and make people feel warm and fuzzy, essentially, but also gave people that sense of wanting to get out there and give it 110%, that we can't just sit back, but you've got to get out, and that's what I hope I'll be able to do.
Liberians are singing again. They live in one of the world's poorest countries, and the spectre of war hangs over them. But peace is taking hold, and Kimmie.Weeks sees hope and optimism where once there was neither.